and they also contributed assorted foods valued at 760 million. So there's
okay, I think I'm going to mute some people. Ivan, let me mute you and also take notes back. Let me just mute you so that the feedback is not a lot from the TV. Phoenix Zero, let me also mute you. I hope you're hearing me well. Basically, the other time before we started our practicals, we had talked about introduction to networking, and we talked about things like categories of networks. We talked about how we can classify networks according to the geographical area, according to the topology. That's why we discussed topologies such as star, bus, ring, mesh, and tree topologies. We also talked about classification according to the geographical area, and we discussed things like PAN, person area network, local area network, metropolitan area network, wide area network, etc. So basically, we are now going to discuss internet and the World Wide Web as another concept altogether relating to networking. Since we know what a network is, now we can talk about internet. Remember, as I told you before, internet is regarded as the network of networks. So when you have very many networks able to share resources among themselves, then you come up with the internet. That's why we say that no one owns the internet. The internet is a resource to everyone. No one owns the internet because we are all contributors of the internet. You having an account on Facebook, that means you're already contributing to a lot of information we have on the internet. Okay, here we are going to talk about the internet basics, internet data, the internet service providers, web browsers. You remember the other time we talked about browsers and search engines in our discussions. What is the URL? What is a hyperlink? What's the search engine and the subject directories and internet capabilities? These are some of the things we're going to discuss here. So basically, we're going to start with the easy things of what is the internet.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Phoenix. Mute here again. Okay. The internet, when you talk of internet, we're talking about a communication network that is itself a connection of so many other networks. In case you have anything to tell me, you can raise your hand. I hope you can see the icon there to raise your hand so that we can be able to hear from you. In case you have any suggestion or comment to make. So a network can consist of two or more computers connected together by a medium such that they are able to share resources or information. But now when we have these very many networks able to share resources, we shall come up with something very abstract and big, which we can refer to as internet. Resources include files, printers, hard drives, the CPU, etc. You can find that very many computers are using a central, they are using one CPU. As I told you, I gave you an example of supercomputers, whereby it is used by millions of users at the same time. So that supercomputer is having one CPU, which is used by small other computers. Okay, so the web versus the internet. We have all heard of something called www. Actually, whenever you're writing your website, whenever anyone is writing their website, for example, when you are typing your website, you will start with www.google.com. It will be something like www.google.google. Okay, I'm now writing like a P1 kid. .com. So why is it that all websites start with www, this one? So the question is, why do websites start with www? www means World Wide Web. This is the meaning of the, so whenever you are typing in maybe facebook.com or zoomers.com, whatever website you visit, you start with www. It means World Wide Web. This means this is a collection of internet resources such as FTP. FTP is a protocol, we shall see it in detail. It is called File Transfer Protocol. Telnet, hyperlinked text, audios, videos. Even if you are going to YouTube, still you do www.youtube.com. It means you want to get resources from the World Wide Web. Those resources can be text. For example, you're maybe you are accessing information online, you're searching. It could be hyperlinked texts like the ones you find in websites. It could be videos with the ones you find on YouTube, etc. So this is why we use www. And if at all you can go back to what we talked about when we were talking about browsers, you will see that browsers help us to access the World Wide Web. So all these hypertext, audios, videos, etc. They can be accessed and searched by browsers based on standards such as the HTTP and TCP/IP. Now these are protocols. These ones let them not take a lot of your time to understand. They are not examinable. They are not going to examine you about these. So let them not take a lot of your time. So the World Wide Web is part of the internet. We use hypertext markup language, this HTML. For you who have ever built websites, or for us who build websites, this is the language we use to come up with websites. It is called HTML. So it is used to build websites. It's a programming language. So it is used to create web pages. Hyperlinks connect web pages to each other. A hyperlink is just a normal link which can connect one page to the other. When you are on a website, for example, you are on Facebook, you will somehow see a link. You will be able to see something like click here to go to home, or click here to view your profile. That word profile which you click on and then you go to that other page, that's what we call a hyperlink. So websites have hyperlinks. The systems you use have hyperlink. For example, those who use WhatsApp, you have 3 pages. You have the page which is for chat, you have one for status, and you have one for calling. So when you are on chat and you click on status, that means you're moving from one page to the other. Now that up there where you click and you go to the chat page, it means that is now the hyperlink. So hyperlinks connect web pages to each other. There's what we call HTTP. You will realize that in most cases, when they are giving you any link, for example, the link I gave you for Zoom, or even if it is Google, before the www, you will find there is something like this. HTTP. And those 2 dots and forward slashes. This is what we call hypertext transfer protocol. Hypertext transfer protocol, HTTP. And it is used, it is a protocol which enables us to get content from the web. We shall talk about different protocols and what they do. But for now, let's first concentrate, since we have seen what the World Wide Web is, let's also see what internet is. We have said internet is a network of networks. We said internet is a network, a massive network of networks, use various protocols such as SMTP, FTP, etc. Now, SMTP, as I said, we have lots of protocols. So some of those protocols, we have HTTP. HTTP enables us to get content from the World Wide Web. When you are searching Google, etc., use HTTP. Anything to do with text and content. So we have SMTP. This is Simple Mail Transfer Protocol. For those who use Gmail, those who use any emailing system will use SMTP for emails. FTP is for downloading. Whenever you want to download anything, this is the protocol you use, FTP, File Transfer Protocol. It's used to download content. It is, for example, you're on YouTube and you're downloading a song, you use FTP. When you want to download maybe a PDF in you have Googled and you have a PDF you want to download, or any slides you want to download from your email, wherever, you use FTP and so many other protocols, as we shall see. So when we talk of networks, the other time we talked about management of networks, and we said some networks are peer-to-peer, others are client-server networks. And we also went ahead to describe what we mean by client-server. Users connect to the internet. Now there are people disturbing us in the group. Okay. There are people who are still disturbing us in the group. If at all you can help them, you can help them and tell them what to do, because I cannot teach at the same time helping these ones in the group. Okay, so we have client-server architecture, whereby a client is a computer that users use to connect to the internet to request for web pages or to request for data. When you use your phone to connect to the internet, you are the client. So the server computer, they store web pages and data. So for example, if at all you want to access maybe a Mildmay system, I'm the host. So I have it on my server, and for you are using the internet to connect to it. So when you look at this diagram, this is the client computer, and this is the server computer. So the server computer has the website you're looking for. For example, Google. Google has its servers where all its content sits. So you have Google here, and then here you have a given Mathias somewhere trying to access Google. So that means your computer will send a request for data from the server, and then the server will respond by giving you back the data. That's when Google will display a number of things for you. So basically that is client-server architecture. Another thing to talk about here is the IP address. I'm sure we have all ever heard of something called the IP address. An IP address, it means Internet Protocol address. It is a unique identifier of computers. So in case you are asked for the unique identifier of computers on network, it is what we call the IP address, Internet Protocol address. Every computer, every phone, every device that connects to a network, the network will assign it a unique IP, which uniquely identifies it. You cannot have two networks which use the same IP address. That's why I know some of you are trying to connect to the MUG network at school, but you were not able to connect to it because it is locked. It uses IP addresses. If you don't have an IP address, you can't use that network. And that's why all of you are able to connect to the MIHS network, because for the MIHS network, it is open. You don't need an IP address. The network assigns them automatically. So that's how you're able to connect to it. So this is a 32-bit binary number that is divided into four groups. So an IP address has 4 segments. We have the first segment, we have the second, we have the third, and we also have the fourth. So that is what we call segmenting, and it has 4 segments. So that's what we call an IP address. We shall also talk more about it, and I will give you more examples when we go to the computer lab. Some of these things I want you to understand them right here, so that when you go to class, well, when you go and read through your notes, at least you are able to grasp some of these things. So internet service providers. An internet service provider is a company that provides the connections and support to access the internet. An ISP can be national, regional, or a local company. We know we have, for example, regional internet service providers. In Uganda, we have national service providers and regional. For example, you have telecommunication companies like MTN, Airtel, Africell, etc. Those are national or regional. But then they're also getting from a bigger source. For example, there is I-band, which supplies network to almost all these telecom companies we have in Uganda. So they get it from I-band, and then they also resell it downwards to other companies. You'll find that you use Renox at Mildmay, we use Highway Africa, and any other companies that give people internet and people pay for it. So all those are internet service providers, but they are at different levels. So choosing an internet service provider, you read through this and you see the reasons, all the factors you consider while choosing a good internet service provider. If at all you want to have internet service, how do you determine to use AfriCell or to use MTN or to use Airtel? So you are going to look at the cost, of course, internet upgrades, the bandwidth, because for example, you can be having AfriCell. AfriCell is very nice in Kampala, but when you go to Chenjojo, you might not find their AfriCell. So all those things, you have to put them into perspective. There are lots of people who would want to use MTN, but they are not able to use MTN because of its customer service. Maybe they have a very poor customer service, and that's why very many people cannot use it. So there are lots of reasons why you can choose one internet service provider over the others. So basically, those are some of the things we consider while you're choosing who your internet service provider is going to be. Is it because of the reliability? Is it because of the local access numbers? Is it because of the cost, the upgrades, etc.? If at all you can remember when we used to have, when we still had Airtel and MTN, their costs were always high and they were not reaching in the different sectors. Then there came this guy called Warid. For those who used Warid, Warid came and its costs were so low and it was giving reliable source to everyone. It actually had masks almost on every village. So basically it put all the others out of business. Actually, I think that was the first time we started seeing double phones, because Warid would give out double phones, a phone which can have 2 lines. That was the first time we saw such phones in Uganda. But before, we couldn't have such phones. So when you're navigating the internet, you cannot navigate to the web without using web browsers. So a web browser, we are going to talk about a computer software or a graphical computer software that enables web navigation. So it is a software or an application which is installed on our computers, and it can actually enable you to navigate the web or the World Wide Web. Popular web browsers, we have Internet Explorer, we have Netscape, we have Firefox, we have Torch. You know these things, we have been discussing them in class. Okay, let me unmute a bit so that the feedback does not come directly to me. Okay, so basically, this is just an example of Netscape. We have Internet Explorer here, etc. So that's how web browsers look like. Sometimes I was telling people, enter that URL in the search bar of the web browser. For them, they would go to Google, and then they put where there is Google instead of putting it. So whenever I tell you to put the URL in the URL in search bar, you put it up here. This section here is what we call the URL search bar of the browser. Up there, you don't put in Google. Google is a search engine, it's not a web browser. Okay, so we have, on every browser has what we call a toolbar. This is what you see up here. For Internet Explorer, it looks like this, and this is where we search from. In case you are putting any, this is where you put your URL to search it. Netscape, it also has it. This is where you search from. It also has other things. I hope you can see the back. This is the back button. we have the refresh button, we have home when you want to go back home, favorites, when for example, you want to mark Facebook as your favorite so that it always appears whenever you want to open up your browser, you mark it there as, and lots of other things which you can do. So we have what we call tabs. This is one tab. This is another tab. And you don't have to close any. You can open all the tabs you want when you are searching, when you are navigating. Okay, so to all, flow, all, refresh, depending on the browser. These icons will vary depending on the browser. Here, Internet Explorer uses this, Netscape uses this. The search, both of them have search by different locations. The bookmarks, Internet Explorer calls it favorite, Netscape calls it bookmarks, but they all mean the frequently visited sections, all web pages. Okay, when you want to print, when you want to search, etc. So getting around the web. Here we are going to talk about websites, URLs, hyperlinks, and favorites and bookmarks. So a website, when we talk about the website, okay, someone, I think, Tony, let me just unmute you a bit. Just mute you a bit. Okay, a website is a collection of related web pages. First web page is always known as the home page, but when you have different web pages in one place, then it becomes a website. For example, Facebook is a website because you have different pages. You can go on your status, you can go to your contacts, you can go to your friends, you can go to your timeline, you can messages, etc. So all those are pages. When they are bundled into one, it now becomes what we call a website. So a web page, because if at all a website is a collection of related web pages, then we can ask ourselves that what is, this gentleman is having videos. Angela, I'm going to remove your video so that your data is not consumed. Thank you. Okay, so we are talking a web page is an HTML document comprised of text and graphics with a unique address and hyperlinks. That is what we call a web page. So what is a URL? A URL in form is a uniform resource locator. Unique to all web pages, a URL is that link. For us, we usually call it link. For example, www.google.com, www.facebook.com, www.youtube.com. All those are examples of URLs. That link which takes you to a given website. Okay, so HTTP is a protocol from the server to browser. We have already talked about this as a protocol for content. So every URL starts with a protocol. For example, HTTP. Then we also have the domain name. Now this here is the domain name. www.mathias.com, that's a domain name, and you register it. So from the protocol, the next thing is the domain name. www.facebook.com, .google.com, that is what we call a domain name of any website. www.mildmay.com. But then we have a given page. For example, you were trying to access, for example, the jobs page on the Mildmay website. So you have HTTP, then you have www.mildmay.or.ug, and then you have / the page which you want to visit, which is the jobs page. Maybe on that there is also another one called cartoon. So it can be continuous depending on how many pages you have to go through. Okay. Still URLs continued. Here you have an explanation of the part www.newyorktimes.com represents the host name, as I've told you, Mildmay, etc. Then the pages Yes, Ivan, you're raising your hand. You may have to unmute when you want to talk. Ivan, what are you saying?
I have a question, sir.
Yes, sir.
Where do you register the domain name?
There are companies. I personally have a company which registers those names. If at all maybe you want me to create for you a website, first of all, I will create the website by creating web pages in one place. Then after bundling them, then there are companies which I pay. There are those companies like GoDaddy which are worldwide, but in Uganda we also have companies that can do the domain name registration. Just like if at all you want to buy airtime, you can go to a shop, or you can even buy your airtime direct from MTN. So even personally, I have a company which can register domain names. So you give me your name, I first search whether it is already existing. If it's existing, we change. If it's not existing, then I can register it for you. Do you have another question?
No, sir. Thank you, sir.
Okay. So these are some of the examples of domain name. This one. Okay, fine. For example, you can find google.com. You'll find those which have .edu, .gov. For example, government institutions usually use .gov. Like ministries, they usually use .gov. Education institutions have this. For example, or they can also use .sc.u. For example, Mildmay Institute of Health Sciences has .sc.ug, .sc.ug, etc. So you can have .museum, .info, .org, .pro, .net. All those are to specify the domain group you're using. And here you can see the explanations of who uses what. You'll be able to see who uses what and when do you use a given domain name. Okay, we can also talk about hyperlinks. Hyperlinks provide access to other web pages. I think you can see that picture, that if you want to go to another page, you can click on, actually, whenever you click on it, it will bring a finger. Angela,
okay, I'm now hearing, and
now let me mute you. You can also remove your video so that you don't consume a lot of data. Okay, for example, when you look at the cursor becomes a hand. The links are usually in blue or any other colors. When you try to put that cursor next to any word in a website or online on the internet, it will turn into a finger pointing upwards, like what you're seeing here. That is now you know that is what we call a hyperlink. You see that? Let me bring back my cursor. Okay, so when you click on it, it will turn into it will turn into a finger. Then that's when you know that is now a hyperlink. They help us to move from one page to the other within a website. For example, you are searching, then you want to see more, then you click on that option of see more, then it will take you to another page. So bookmarks or favorites. A list created of favorite web pages. For example, you're reading something and then you want it to be among those lists of favorite websites which you visit. That's what you can do. Is a method of returning to web pages. For example, you have ever visited a web page, but you want to always revisit it. You can mark it as a bookmark or mark it as a favorite so that it is stored in your cache memory. Internet Explorer users calls it favorite. Netscape calls it bookmarks. Microsoft Edge also uses it as favorites. Then Mozilla Firefox calls it bookmarks, etc. Okay, search engines. When we are talking of search engines, we already discussed what a search engine is the other time, and I told you a search engine, other than instead of saying the website, the browser is always that application installed on your computer and enables you to navigate the World Wide Web. On the other hand, the search engine actually is a website. And you cannot access a search engine without using the browser. So a search engine is a website that enables you to locate or to search for content on the World Wide Web by the use of words. For example, if you open up google.com, if you open Google, I'm now writing like a P1 kid. If you're using google.com, and you put in a keyword as Kenya. You put Kenya as a keyword. They will give you all the content about Kenya, whatever they know, whether they are musicians in Kenya, whether it is a Facebook account in Kenya, whatever has the Kenya in it, it will be broad, not Kanye West, it's Kenya. So basically, this is what it does. So some examples of search engine, we have Google, which all of us know, all the web, Dogpile, Indexer, Spider, etc. You remember the list we gave when we were discussing these things online, lots of search engines. So it is very important that you know the difference between the two. So web pages organized by topics and subtopics. There are some popular subject directories like Yahoo, Look Smart, MSN, but these ones can also be used as search engines. So when you are searching the web, these are some of the things you can search using. You can search the web using a keyword. For example, you put in Kenya, or you can search using a given field, or you can search using a Boolean. A Boolean means a yes or no. It depends on how you ask the questions. Or you can do what we call a miscellaneous search. We shall look at those ones in detail, and we shall see how we can search with those ones. So searching using a keyword, I'm sure you can read through this and see how you search with a keyword. Here is an example of how you can search using a keyword. So here, this is your Google. This is your Google, and you are able to put a keyword. Oh, finally, we have our friend Sonia. She has been able now to hear us, you can imagine. Let me even just mute her in advance. Okay, so that is how we manage to, that's how we manage to search using. Okay, I was busy muting people here who are making noise, including Angela. Okay, you can also search using a field. The search is conducted for a specific title, domain, URL, or host. This is the example. You can enter a field that I want to find results with all the words which meet this criteria. Then you put your criteria with the exact phrase. You can put a given phrase that I want to die, as maybe I want to die as the phrase. And the Google will bring you all the things that have that given phrase. Or you can actually use at least one of the words. For example, you put Angela, comma, Chiwewa Ivan, comma, Sonia. So Google will give you at least either where those words appear or at least one of those words when they appear. It will give it to you in your search. So you can search using Boolean logic. This is where we use and, or we can use plus or minus symbols. That I want everything that has this and that and that. That is now logic programming. And when we go to the lab, when we are able, if at all we get the chance to go back to the lab, I'll be able to show you how to use these things. So you place a symbol immediately after the keyword. For example, This one was trying to search for Star Wars plus, you see, Star Wars is a movie, and then, so they want Star Wars 1, episode 1. So this person was particular on what they want to get from Google. So when you put this in Google, Google will give you only those ones which have Star Wars 1, episode 1. It will not give you everything about Star Wars. So more to do with this, for example, vacation Paris and France, and you will narrow it to both. It must be in Paris and in France. If at all the vacation area is in France, but not in Paris, then you will not get that in your list of searching. For example, you can search for example, you want a man who is tall and at the same time rich. So when you use "and" as the keyword in your searching, it means you want one who is tall and at the same time rich. If at all one is tall but not rich, that person will not appear. If at all you have one who is rich but not tall, that person will also not appear. I hope you understand the concept of "and." So when you say "or," I want a light-skinned girl or a rich girl. That means if at all she's rich, I can go with that girl, or if at all she is light-skinned and poor, I can also go with that girl. So that's the difference between "and" "or." We use them so much whenever we are searching for content on the web. Those are the Boolean operators we are talking about. So your time is valuable. Search engines have become an important part of our online experience as internet users, because with search engines, you can search whatever you want, and in just seconds, you have your answers. So learn how to use advanced search features in your search engine searches. When you're using Google, know how to search for content. They have given you work to search for online. Do you know how to use Google Scholar? Do you know that Google Scholar has everything you need? Do you know that it depends on how you search for? Content is always there on Google, but how do you search for it before you answer a given coursework, which was given to you? That's another skill which you have to build when you're doing your courseworks. So evaluating search engines. Websites, not search engines. When you're evaluating a website, you want to know how authentic the website is. So you look through this and you know how to evaluate a website. Who is the author of the articles you see there? What audience is the website looking at? You will find that some websites, especially those ones which are always pink and white and purple, they are focusing on weddings and women, etc. That's why when you look at Spark TV has pink colors. So it is targeting a given audience. Is the site biased? Well, when you go to a people power site, you may not get the information you would have gotten from Nile Post or NBS, because they are a bit biased towards a given point of view or ideology. Is the information on that website current? There's a website you go to and information you're getting there is for 5 years ago, 10 years ago, etc. So how current is the information? So then the links. How easy is it for you to get from one link to the other? How easy is it for you to move from one link, from one page to the other? If at all you're on Facebook, how easy is it to leave from home to status, to timeline, to messages, to games, etc., all those pages on Facebook? How easy is it? Do you take ages or it is very fast? So the last module of our discussion today is going to be about capabilities of the internet. And here we are going to talk about these capabilities in 3 major functions. The communication capabilities, that is now communicating from person to person, interpersonal communication. We shall discuss the retrieval capabilities. This is to do with downloading. Retrieving, you're downloading. You are downloading either a document, a movie, a song, etc. Now those are retrieval capabilities. We also have online shopping, buying and selling. I know all of us at this moment, somehow you have used Jumia before, because you can't go to town. So you end up, now let me also remove Angela's video before she starts her faces. Now, when you talk of communication capabilities, we have emails. You read through and you see how we use emails. And also Actually, you will read through emails because I've already discussed them in class. And what is spamming? It is, so what's the spam? You read through and see. What is a junk email? So how to avoid spamming? This question came last year. So I want you to take extra attention to it. And these things are in your notes. So what do you do to avoid spamming? So take some time and go through all these things. Then we have mailing lists. We have mail groups. We have news groups. I'm sure most of you are part of mailing lists, whereby a class has a mailing list, and maybe if at all Mr. Jimmy wants to send you work, they send to a single email, and all of you will get because you are in the mailing list. We have what we call Usenets, all user networks. We have netiquettes. Most of these things are also now becoming extinct. We have chat sessions like WhatsApp, etc. Okay, we have instant messaging. We have what we call internet telephony, whereby you are able to have a phone call online. For example, exactly what we are doing right now is what we call telnet. Telnet is the ability to have such video conferencing like Skype, Zoom, Teams, etc. There are lots of, even WhatsApp has it now. So those are what we call telnet. Telnet is a protocol, just like we looked at HTTP and FTP. Okay, the reality check is you read through the difference between emails and mailing lists and how each of them is used. These things are very easy to understand. So retrieval capabilities. When you're retrieving content, you use FTP as the protocol we use, file transfer protocol. It is used for transferring files containing documents and software between computers on the internet. So when you download a song from the internet or from YouTube, you're using FTP to download that. Web directories, we have already looked at directories and how you can be able to retrieve using searches. For example, Yahoo, MSN, Google, they have web directories which we can use to search for content. So those are web directories. We said we have Yahoo, MSN, and then search engines. We have Google, we have all the web, etc. But sometimes these two can be used interchangeably. Okay, we also have portals. Portals are becoming extinct right now, but we shall also discuss them because they are more practical. Then we can have the shop, buy and sell capabilities of the internet. I'm sure all of us have dealt with an online site, whether eBay, whether Amazon, whether it is Jumia, etc. Somehow, somewhere you have bought something online. So now that is conducting business online. There's a word we call cookies, and most of us have seen it at least somewhere. So a cookie, these are text files stored on the client computer when visiting websites, used to return visits to websites. We talked about bookmarks and favorites. Now, these are things which take you back. For example, if at all you visited a given website, for example, you visited mildmay.org.ug. Next time when you go to Google and you put in Mildmay, the very first thing to come is that website which you have visited. Who is disturbing us again? It's Malish. Let me mute. And also stop the video. Okay. Entertainment, of course, we have lots of web entertainment like multimedia, which involves forms of audio, graphics, text, etc. Streaming videos and audios online. We have plugins, we have online games. You have seen those ones on Facebook. You can go on Facebook and play Candy Crush, etc. Soda Crush, all those are on internet games. What is a plugin? A plugin is a set of software components that add specific abilities to a larger software application. For example, you have your plugin. For example, you have a software like WhatsApp as your software. Then after some time, they developed what we call calls, whereby you can do a video call. Now that's a plugin. A video call is a subset of WhatsApp. So it is a plugin you add on to, added onto WhatsApp. Now, when you look at Facebook right now has timeline, all status. You can also put your status just like you put it on WhatsApp. Now that's a plugin which has been added. So we add plugins to our existing softwares in order for us to increase or to improve its functionality. So I want us to discuss these things for the next 1 hour in our WhatsApp group. Why is the internet referred to as a network of networks? Someone can take a screenshot of that and you share it in your group so that other people who are offline can know what you're going to discuss. I want us to discuss through all these ones. Today, before the end of today, let's first have a discussion about these things. So you can take a screenshot of it and send to the group so that everyone can be able to participate. That is going to be our discussion today. For now, I would like to wish you a good discussion, and our class should end here for now. Let's continue with this class online in our discussion.